Hello everyone and welcome back to another lesson. So in today's lesson we're looking at data validation and our focus will be on the multi-level drop-down list. Now in our previous lesson we dealt much into the single level drop-down list and other features of data validation, but in today's lesson we are going to look at the multi-level. Now with data validation we already established the fact that it allows us to control what we type or the values users enter into a cell. Right now with the multi-level drop-down list, what we introduced over here is that we introduce what we call a parent-child relationship. Alright, so as you can see over here, a multi-level drop-down list is set of drop-down menus where the option in one list, that the child, are dynamically determined by the selection made in another list, that's the parent list. So what we do is that we have a parent drop down and a child drop down, and the selection we make in the parent drop down determines what we get in the child drop down. So that's what we are going to do today. Now this is very important, especially in data management, because it helps us to improve data consistency by limiting user inputs to predefined valid combination, and also help us minimize user errors since there will be a predefined data of, let's say, a list to select from, right? And it simplifies data analysis by ensuring structure and categorized entries. Now in this multi-level drop-down list in data validation that we're using, our focus will be on data validation, named ranges, and the indirect function. So we dealt much deeper in our previous lesson into named ranges, and we've also dealt into the data validation. So our focus now will be the indirect function, which we have not touched on it in details. Now with the indirect function, what it does is that it dynamically references a named range based on our selection. Alright, so we are going to introduce this function in the drop down and the multi-level drop down list that we'll be creating. Okay, so we move straight to our Excel sheet. That's a multi-level drop down list. So the data that we use in this video will be placed, a link will be placed in the description so that you can also have access to the data and practice with it. Now we have two examples over here, and with a multi-level list that we are dealing with, our first example is a 2-level drop down list and our second example is a 3-level drop down list. So with a 2-level drop down list, what we are trying to create is that now if anytime we make a selection over here, alright, for the continent, let's say Africa, the countries that we are getting should be countries in Africa. So as you can see over here, we can see countries in Africa. Okay, so this hasn't been activated yet, so I'll show you how we can also work on that. And let's say if we change it to Asia, right, we should also get the countries in Asia over here. And this is very important because let's take this scenario where let's say we are entering data where we have to enter the country, or let's say the continent for every individual and the country for each individual. Creating such list helps to minimize error, especially when it comes to, let's say, typo errors and even choosing wrong names for different continents. Now in our example 2, we have products, the brand and the models that we'll be dealing with. So let's say we have several products. Maybe we have products like, let's say we have phones, we have laptops. Let's say we deal with phones, we deal with laptops, we deal with TVs. We know there are several brands of TV, several brands of phones that we have and different models. So we want to create a drop down list so that we know, let's say, okay, so if it's Apple, if it's, let's say, a phone, we are dealing with Apple, that's the brand, and the model, maybe we are dealing with iPhone 14 Pro Max. Samsung, if the phone, we know it's maybe Samsung, then maybe the model will be maybe Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, right? So that's what we are going to do over here. Now the first thing we have to do is that we have to come to our list over here. So over here I've created a list for all countries in the various continents, and when you come down here we have some products that I'll be working with. All right, so with the countries we have continents like Asia, North America, South America, Europe, and Oceania. All right, so we have all these over here. So first of all, let me just create a list of continents so that we can work with it to make everything simple. Okay, so we even have the continents over here. So these are the continents and the various countries in the continents. So when you come here, what we are going to do is that we already have a data validation over here. So for the sake of those who didn't watch the previous videos, kindly pause this one, go back and watch our video on single level drop down list. So to get our drop down list over here, I'll go to data and I'll go to my data validation, but the keyboard shortcuts are faster, so Alt A V V. I'll get my data validation drop down list. Alright, and over here you can see you have list selected. So all you do is that you come to allow, then you select list. Alright, then in the source over here you come and you select this. Alright, you select this and you hit OK. Now you can see that we have the drop down list over here. So that's how we go about that. But first of all, let's name these ranges, because we mentioned over here that the core tools that you need to be our data validation, name ranges, and the indirect function. So I'll come to my list over here and I'll create name ranges. So to do that, I can just highlight, come to the name box and give it a name. So let's say this is continent, okay, and I hit enter, and you can see. So if you want to see whether the name ranges has gone through successfully, select this. Instead of seeing, let's say, cell A2 over here, you see continent. So we do so for the other one. So we select every country here, then we name it. So over here we are dealing with Africa. I hit enter. Then I can also do same for the other countries. So North America. Let's see. So North America. And I'll do same for South America. I also do same for Asia. Sorry. So Asia. And then Europe. Then I also name the ranges over here. Sorry, so I also name these ones, which is Oceania. Alright, so once I'm done with everything, then I can come. So if you want to check the name ranges that you've done, you can come to formulas over here, then you go to name manager. So you hit name manager, you can see the various name ranges that we've created. So we have Africa, Asia, continent, Europe, North America, Oceania, and South America. Alright, so you can close and come to our drop down list. Now to be able to get the drop down list over here, alright, we place our cursor over here, then we go to our data validation dialog box. Then over here, so here too, what we are going to do is that the validation criteria, so we allow lists, right, because we have a predefined list over there. We go to list. Now in the source, with this one, since we are creating a child drop down list, so it's like the countries is dependent on the selection over here. So that's where we introduce the indirect function. So equal to indirect into brackets. Now the selection is based on the output is based on this selection over here, which is in cell B4. So I'll enter B4, I can close it and hit enter. Okay, so yes, so over here you can see if I come here and I make a selection, let's say Africa, and I come to the countries, I should be seeing countries in Africa. So as you are seeing, so all these are countries in Africa: Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, Kenya. Now let's see what happens if we change it to, let's say, North America. Under the countries, you see we are getting countries for North America. Alright, so that's how you go about with the two-level drop-down list. So if you come to Asia, you see countries for Asia: Afghanistan, Armenia, Bhutan, China, Cambodia, Indonesia. Then the last one, if we come to, let's say, Europe, we are seeing countries for only Europe. So that's how you go about with the two-level drop-down list. Now with the three-level drop-down list, okay, it goes with the same principle, just that with this instance the dependents are many. So right now brand will be serving as a child as a child to product, so it will be determined or dependent on what we select for product, and the model will also be dependent on what we select for the brand. Right, so with that also, to do that, So we already have data validations over here, so let me just get rid of it. Okay, so let me just get rid of that one. Okay, all right, so I still have some here. Okay, then I think I have some over here too. Okay, now with a 3-level drop down list, what we do is that we first have to create a single level drop down list over here, right? So before that, what we have to do is that let's go back to our list and create name range and name the ranges for the products, the brands, and the model. So we have them over here. So what I'll do over here is that I'll first name this. So with this one, I'll give them the name, let's say products. So products. Alright, I hit enter. Then under the products, alright, I have phones over here, laptops, and we have televisions over here. So under brand, I'll come back and name these ones. So I know these ones are brands for phones, so I'll name these ones phones. I'll hit enter. I'll come here, I'll name these ones laptop. So laptops. I'll hit enter. Then I know these ones are LG, sorry, televisions. So televisions. I hit enter. And I come to the brands over here and I also create name ranges for them. So I know these models are for iPhones, sorry, are for Apple. So Apple, I know these ones are for Samsung. So Samsung. Then under laptops, so HP, you have the various models over here, so I can also name them. So let's say HP. Then and laptops, so under HMI, so MSI, sorry about that. Then under televisions, so the models for LG, we have them over here, so I'll select them and I'll name their range. So maybe that's also LG. I hit enter. Then we have TCL over here, so TCL, and I hit enter. So we can confirm the names that we've created for the various products. So with that one, just like I mentioned earlier, I come to formulas, then we have name manager over here. So now you can see that we have additions to them. You can see the LG, MSI, laptops, HP, all added to them. So I can just close and come back to my multi-level drop down list sheet. So over here, I first create my single level drop down, which is, so I'll go to my data validation, dialog box. Alright, now over here under products, the list for products, we have created it under the list sheets, so we change it to list. Then our source, so our source, we come to our list, then we locate the products and we say highlight everything. Now in this instance, you realize that we've already created name ranges for this. You could have just typed the name range. So let's say if you select everything, you realize that it changes to products because we've created a name for this range. So even without coming here to select that, you can just go ahead and type product. Then I'll hit OK. Immediately I do so, you can see that I've gotten the list for products over here, but we don't have any data validation or drop down list over here. So based on the parent-child relationship and with the help of the indirect function, we go ahead and also create dependence on these products over here. So I'll go to my data validation dialog box. Then over here I want a list, right? So I want list, so I'll select list. Now under list over here, because we want to create a dependence on these ones, we are not going to select any list, but rather we will use the indirect function. So which is, so you go ahead equal to indirect into brackets. Now it has to be based on the selection in cell E4. So you can see it over here, E4, right? E4. So without using absolute references, so let me just go ahead and type E4 and hit enter. Now we can see the drop down list over here. So let's see what happens. So now if we select phones and we come here, you see we have two brands of phone. which are the lists that we created over here. Oh, sorry, here should be Apple. Alright, so I think it should be corrected over here. Alright, so Apple and Samsung. You see, so if you choose phones, we have Samsung. If you choose laptops, we have HP and MSI. Now you can see that if you select MSI, now we don't know that we don't have the model list over here, so we also want to add that one. So with the 3 level, then the selection over here or the list over here should also be dependent on what we select under the brand. So we come here, then we go to our data validation dialog box, and over here we change it to list. Then with the source, we restore to the indirect function, so equal to indirect. So indirect into bracket, then should be based on selection in F4. So F4, and I close my bracket and hit enter. Now immediately I do so, you can see that immediately I select, I click enter, this drop down list is created. Now if I tap on it, I'm getting the models for MSI. So that's how you go about with a 3 level drop down list. So let's see what happens if we change this place to, let's say, phones. And with the phones, let's say we have Apple and Samsung. Maybe I want to look at Samsung, then I want to know the models available. So now you can see the various models available. Alright, so instead of creating a drop down list individually, you can also create this multi-level dependent drop down list, and also facilitate easy data entry, minimize errors, and many more. So let's see if we do, let's say, laptops. Now we know we have HP laptops, then we have the various models. So we have the HP Spectra 360, HP MV16. So that's how you go about it, creating multi-level drop down list, both a 2 level and a 3 level drop down list. Alright, so with this one, there are also some things you should also understand in dealing with these ones also. So the first one is that we should always be mindful of how we name the various ranges, okay? Because then the name that you be given to, say, for example, this name range, alright, which represents, let's say, phones, alright. So you should make sure that this name range is named phones, which is equal to what is over here. If you are dealing with the, let's say, the models, you know that these model ranges is for Apple. So we also make sure that we name it Apple, and it's very important when it comes to the naming and the indirect function. Alright, so this brings us to the end of multi-level drop down list, and hope to see you in another video. Bye.